Hey guys, and welcome back to my channel. So I have some breaking news for you guys today. This is still currently unfolding. This is from Fox News. Breaking: suspect in deadly National Guard shooting in custody, police say. So let's go ahead and jump right into the video.
Two National Guard members shot this afternoon less than a mile from the White House, and we now can report they have died. West Virginia Governor Patrick Morrisey announcing the news on X, writing in part, "It is with great sorrow that we can confirm both members of the West Virginia National Guard who were shot earlier today in Washington, D.C. have passed away from their injuries. These brave West Virginians lost their lives in service of their country." President Trump condemning the act, writing on Truth Social, "The animal that shot the two National Guardsmen is also severely wounded, but regardless will pay a very steep price. God bless our great National Guard and all of our military and law enforcement. These are truly great people. I, as President of the United States, and everyone associated with the office of the presidency, am with you." D.C. police confirming that a suspect is in custody. The president is now in Florida at his Mar-a-Lago estate, while the White House is in lockdown. And FBI Director Kash Patel says the FBI is engaged in assisting with the investigation. Fox News correspondent Mark Meredith is on the scene, and he joins us now. Mark, what's the update?
Joey, good afternoon. A tragedy unfolding right here on the streets of D.C., as you mentioned, just a few blocks away from the White House. The latest news coming from the governor of West Virginia, the commander-in-chief of the West Virginia National Guard, confirming that two of his service members have been killed on the streets of Washington, D.C. This attack happening a few minutes before 3 p.m. this afternoon outside of the Farragut West Metro Station. That's one of the more popular stations here in D.C., 3 different train lines that run through. This was also an attack that appeared to happen just outside of the station. I was hearing from a source who had a good vantage point from this, where you could see that those service members were simply right outside of a bus station. It was like a glass enclosure in addition to where the actual train station is, and that's where it appears those gunshots occurred. The suspect also in custody. No update yet on his condition, but you can imagine here the tremendous loss that the entire city of D.C. as well as our neighbors in West Virginia are also facing right now. Where this attack occurred is also very important because of the symbolic of it. We're just so close to the White House. The National Guard deployments have been a huge moment for the Trump administration. They've made it their mission to try to clean up the crime in D.C., and there's been a lot of political controversy, Joey, with that decision. But these troops have been out on the streets now for several months, and in addition to that, we have seen them come and go from different states, different deployments that have sent their troops. I live in D.C., and I've seen them even as recently as Sunday evening. I even thanked them as I was going back to my house to say thank you for your service, because it is a thankless job, and so many of these National Guards members have been out there on a holiday weekend, nights, weekends, away from their families. And there had been some criticism from some that they felt that this wasn't an accurate deployment, but these people were obviously targeted here, and there's an indication that this was somebody that wanted to send a message. That we know that the president, vice president, all top levels of the government have been responding to this in real time. And while it is a holiday weekend, Joey, I've seen a number of law enforcement agencies, ATF, FBI, Secret Service, D.C. Police, Metro Transit Police, you name them, they've been out here trying to respond to this. We are expecting an update from D.C. Police within the next few minutes or so. Mayor Bowser, our D.C.'s Democratic mayor, who just announced yesterday she's not even going to seek another term, would also likely have plenty to say about this, because this is going to have repercussions all across not only the district but around the country. In fact, I'm struck by how much this is already becoming an international story, because we are only a block away from the White House. You've got international media out here that are also trying to piece together exactly what happened. Vice President Vance already addressing the situation while he was in Fort Campbell, Kentucky. I would imagine the president will have more to say on this. I don't think he has any public events on his schedule today, but he's been active on Truth Social. I also heard from somebody who was on the ground that Kash Patel, the FBI director, had also stopped by. I did not see that with my own eyes, but I would imagine at any news conference he would make his presence known as well. Joey?
Yeah, Mark, you're there on the ground.
Kash Patel actually did. I was watching the live conference. It had, I believe, like the chief there. It also had the mayor, Miriam Bowser. I think she's the mayor. And then they also had Kash Patel there. So they were all addressing it. They said that these people are going to be all out in full force. They're going to have different agencies working together to sort this out. So we're talking all 3-letter agencies that are going to look through this. And My biggest fear right now is the person that did this more than likely is going to end up being a Democrat, probably left leaning, maybe ties with Antifa. Now, curveball, you can say that maybe because of the timing of it with Trump declaring the Muslim Brotherhood as terrorists, could also be that. So you can have those two kind of curveballs, because with the left leaning going crazy right now, especially with them pushing this rhetoric with, murking ICE, putting that, like ICE, in the lock hairs for getting cartels involved, gangbangers involved to, put out bounties on them. Who's to say they weren't going to do the same thing with National Guard? So my fear is this is going to start amplifying the problems, because now, would this be the situation that would cause a kinetic, hot civil war now? Are we at that precipice, or are we still teetering? So it's hard to know what's really going on, especially because we don't know all the circumstances to this. We don't know the affiliation of the person yet. We have no idea if he was left, right, center, if he was a terrorist, if he was an illegal, if he was, a scorned lover. We don't know yet. So we're going to wait until we get those details. So right now, all we have are a lot of hypotheticals. But based on the trends that we've been seeing so far with the amplification of violence towards the right, I wouldn't be surprised if this is a trans shooter or some left-leaning, crazed, protester, shooter, Antifa. Again, we also have that where it could be a Muslim Brotherhood. We don't know yet. But once we find out, we definitely are going to report on it here. But let's keep going.
I just heard you say that you feel like this is seems to be very targeted, and someone might have been trying to send a message. Have you spoken to people on the ground, witnesses, or someone involved that has confirmed that? Is that a hunch? Where are you coming from with that?
No, absolutely. We are still waiting for the official word to come from D.C., but given that we're hearing from the top law enforcement officials as well as the president himself, if it were to be just a random D.C. street crime, I'm not sure we would see necessarily such a staunch response for there. In terms of witnesses, yes, I have spoken to witnesses who came out here after they saw the aftermath of it, people that basically saw people running away from the scene. These people were curious as to, Joey, what was happening in real time. Yes, the official motive, what that'll be up to law enforcement to announce. But you have to, of course, take into consideration of where we are standing 2 blocks away from the White House, who these people were. They were in their uniform. I saw from a source, from a photo that was sent to me, that these people absolutely had their uniform on, and on the back of one of the victims had the National Guard in big white lettering and a black sign. So these people absolutely would have stood out. They weren't plain clothes. These people were certainly known to make their presence here. I would imagine at some point we're going to be seeing, Joey, a lot of reflection about what their mission was, what can be done to make sure something like this doesn't happen again. And you're right, Joey, motive, a huge part of the equation at this point. We'll wait for D.C. Police to give us the final word on that on this Thanksgiving Eve. Joey?
Absolutely, yeah. We look forward to that press conference, hopefully within the next few minutes. Mark, thanks for being there, and stay safe. All right, we're going to bring in Paul Morrow now, Fox News contributor, retired NYPD inspector. Paul, thanks for staying on with us. I know you've been on already today. You just heard Mark's report there. He kind of went so far as to say he believes this was targeted and maybe even sending a message, not necessarily assigning a motive, but saying it's kind of almost impossible not to be. What's your take, and are you hearing anything?
So let's try to advance the story a little bit at this point. Obviously, as you said, the atmospheric seemed to be something that was message-driven. Why does that matter? Because if law enforcement does determine that, and that's, I'm sure, why the FBI is heavily involved here, aside from the fact that all of Washington is federal jurisdiction, then what's going to happen is the FBI is going to take the case over, and this is going to go into the terrorism realm. This is a little different from the terrorism charges you normally see. Why? Because it's on federal grounds. Well, all of Washington is federal. And what that does is admit certain federal charges that have the T word, terrorism, in it. If you can establish that motive. What is the motive? To either intimidate or influence a civilian population or to move the policy of the government. So now, by now, I am sure that they have identified the shooter, and they are going to be scraping backwards here, first of all, to make sure, did he act alone, and then to see what is the motive and where do we go from here.
Yeah, they stated that they, and I believe this was Cash Patel that was reporting it, but they said that they were going to be pulling all the surveillance that was available to them that were on the streets. They were also going to be pulling the surveillance from all the shops and stores, stuff like that. And they're going to trace this person back and my thing is, like, you're going to do this in Washington of all places, where it's probably the most big brothered out of, like, every freaking, like, city and state, because that's where all the politicians are and the president. So of course it's gonna have, like, crazy, like, cameras galore. So they're gonna trace this person back all the way probably to where the dude parked his car, where he went to go eat, stuff like that. Right now they have one person in custody. They're Cash kinda was hinting that it may be multiple people, but the investigation is still ongoing. The police chief was saying that his theory was one person, and they do have that person in custody. So once they get more information, because they did say that it's still unfolding. Once they get more information, we'll all know more. So once we learn it, once they learn it, then we'll learn it, and then we'll definitely bring it to you guys. But let's keep going.
Something that's happened so close to the White House. We've got National Guard there. I actually got a text from someone involved in the Secret Service that apparently responded really quickly and was a part of that. So obviously that shows just how close to the White House it was. It's not lost on me. It's the day before Thanksgiving. I was sitting here last New Year's Day hosting Fox and Friends, seeing an attack on people in New Orleans. How much of a heightened awareness do we have going into a holiday with so much traffic and confusion and opportunity for people to slip through the cracks, I guess?
Yeah, it's a good point. And you know what? It does happen. It seems like every year in New York, we've had a number of these. They don't, thankfully, rise to this level, but you do get threats around the holidays very, very often. And it's just one of these things that it's an emotional time of the year. It seems to set people off. But also the cities are flooded with people who do things that are, of course, part of our American tradition. Come in to see the tree, come in to see the lights, to do the shopping. And unfortunately, that makes for a target-rich environment. So we would always get, doing counterterrorism here in New York for years, we would always get threats around the holidays, things that were related to the holidays, things that were related to holiday events. And at this point, look, we don't know for sure. But the fact that this happens within the penumbra of the holidays, that also feels like something of an indicator. So we'll just have to see, is there a motive that's apparent? Is there a manifesto? Is there stuff online? They're going to be looking at all of this, and they're getting their arms around it now. By now, I would think the FBI is probably very close, if not already asserting jurisdiction, because you need one person in charge here. That's key. There's a lot of agencies in D.C. They're all running around bouncing into each other. Get one person in charge and run this thing.
Yeah, Paul, that's my next question here. So you have experience in counterterrorism working in the city that really helped invent counterterrorism post 9/11. I mean, the levers that New York City can pull are unlike any other city. But Washington, D.C. is the capital of our country. The federal government is, by and large, located there. I know that post 9/11, a lot of the concerns and complaints were that these different agencies didn't talk to each other. And it seems like when we have a school shooting or any type of major incident, we learn after the fact this person was on some sort of medication, or there was this marker, this red flag. As we move into this, looking at D.C. specifically, what agencies are there? I mean, if they have this person's name, can they backfill with all that information now and start gathering it almost instantaneously? Is it that there's information on people sitting there and you just need an incident like this to bring it to the top?
Yes. The short answer is yes. We spend a lot of time beating up on our federal agencies and law enforcement, but I can tell you that all of them are going to answer the bell on this. This is such an horrific thing that they're...
That I agree with. I think this incident lit a fire under all these agencies. They want answers like ASAP, like yesterday, because this, it's different if this was somebody, if this happened overseas, like if we were in war, it would make a lot of sense why something tragic like this would happen. But to have it here on home, on American soil, during the holidays where we're not at war, and it's really crazy and it's really sad. But I guess you could say we kind of are, because we're in a cold, like, civil war right now between the left and the right. And the left has been heating it up. Like, they're really, really trying to get this to go kinetic, to get it to go to a hot civil war. And, you know, one of these days, it's going to happen, you know? And unfortunately, it sucks to see something like this happen, especially so close to the holidays, you know? Life is way too precious for, you know, something like this to happen. And I definitely feel for the families, you know, prayers go out to, and my condolences go out to the family and the soldiers themselves, you know. This really sucks, but let's keep going.
Are people all over the area in D.C. who have decided, the heck with Thanksgiving, I'm going in. And they are scrambling to do exactly what you're talking about. And you have so many agencies involved here. Capitol Police, for instance, they do a lot of prophylactic work as well, scraping the internet, looking for, in fact, their head of analysis used to work for me. He's a very, very competent guy. So they have a guy like that down there who's going to be dumping his computers, getting his analysts in to scrape backwards. They, I'm sure by now, if not identified or close to identifying this person, the FBI's could be doing the same, Homeland's could be doing the same, and Parks Police are an underappreciated agency. In fact, the federal Parks Police, which have jurisdiction all over D.C., they're a very visible presence down there. And it was Parks Police Aviation which rode to the rescue here and attempted to airlift the two wounded to the hospitals. All right, I just got that information in. So all of these agencies, trust me when I tell you, they're going to be pulling together, but it has to be organized. And that's a key so that we get to good answers fast.
Yeah, unfortunately, we're not getting any good news on the two individuals their lives were taken, that were murdered today. But hopefully, we get some more information on motive and who this is, and hopefully making sure there isn't some sort of threat still out there.
Hey, Sean Hannity here. Hey.
So this is what's going on right now. As more information comes in, I'll definitely try to keep you guys up to date and post about it. I do, post a lot on X, so go and follow me there. But I try to make as many videos as I can and punch them out, as many as I can. But, I definitely, if you follow me on X, you will see my comments on there. I be wilding sometimes. But I'll definitely keep you guys posted. But this situation is just so insane to see it transpire. And, again, I feel for all the parties involved. But you guys, let me know your thoughts in the comments below. Do you think this is finally it? Do you think this is what's going to cause us for our civil war to go hot? Or do you think we're still kind of teetering? Well, you guys let me know. And I want to thank you guys for watching. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe, and hit that notification bell. Till next time, guys.